let's talk about exact match keywords or not using exact match keywords. It's a choice you have to make. You're either running them or not somewhere in your campaigns or your account. Um, is this a choice that people even have to make? Are people not running exact match keywords? What is your thoughts on the state of exact match keywords these days?
Yeah. I don't think we've actually talked about this, but I think exact match keywords, for reasons that I can give and back up my thoughts here, I think they are more important than ever nowadays. I think exact match keywords are critically important, especially if you are utilizing, things like Performance Max, and some other tactics that we might talk about later, like broad keywords and things like that. I think they're critically important. Absolutely, something that you should have in your campaigns.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it's funny to even be discussing exact match keywords, but I overdosed on Performance Max a couple months ago.
Yeah,
I went overboard, and I thought it was just all Performance Max all the time.
yeah,
But then I had some situations where I had to come back to reality, and
yeah,
um, like back in the day, we would never say like, exact match is super important. You have to run it. You have to be kind of really pushing your bids on that because it was like, or you could run exact, you could run phrase. You're going to get pretty much the same traffic. But since they've updated phrase match and took out broad match modified, which I'm with you, Chris. I miss broad match
yeah.
modified.
It still
It's a beautiful
hurts.
thing. Yeah, beautiful thing. Yeah, I'll just throw this out there for you. Maybe long phrase. We can start calling it long phrase is the new
Oh,
broad match modified, where you just feed a bunch of words into the phrase and force it to show you on that kind of
yeah,
exact meaning.
yeah,
In different searches, different ways you can put the wording around. So maybe long phrase is something we should kind of discuss one day. But the point is, phrase match kind of got wild on us, and it's very much an industry by industry thing, is what I'm seeing. Some
yeah. Good
industries you
point.
can have like 2-word phrase keywords, 3-word phrase keywords, and you're like totally fine, and you get the
Yeah,
traffic you would expect. Other industries, it's like rough, and the performance is a lot different on phrase match versus exact match sometimes, but it is happening sometimes now, and that has kind of refocused me on the refreshing power of exact match to show up pretty much on the exact search that you're looking for. Is that why it's top of mind for you these days?
yeah. Um, so my short list on reasons why you absolutely should be adding exact match um, is I'll give some very specific reasons. Number one, as we just talked about Performance Max, number one, exact match is actually given priority over Performance Max campaigns. So if you're running an exact match keyword, Performance Max will not still steal um, a an exact match keyword from your search campaign.
Yeah, if I could just clarify that, if you have a keyword that matches the search query exactly, whether it's broad phrase or exact, it will give the priority to your search campaign showing a search ad instead of a Performance Max campaign showing a search ad.
Yeah,
But I think the likelihood that you're bidding a lot and have that exact phrase in there is is probably higher, or the correlation is stronger when you're running exact match keywords
exact. Yeah,
because you're showing up on exact queries you're trying to show up on a lot more often
yeah.
with those exact match keywords.
Yeah, well said, because you don't need 400 broad match keywords, but you could definitely use like 400 exact match keywords. So there's not a whole lot of opportunities for you to, double down on a whole bunch of broad or phrase, because those can kind of get the job done in smaller numbers. But exact match, that's what the purpose of those, to specify specific things. So you're exactly right. The likelihood of having that exact match
Yeah.
in the search query is higher there for those critical terms. So I think they're very important. And then second, there's an opportunity for you to actually get exactly the traffic that you want with
Yeah.
very little deviation. That close variant type of matching is minimalized. Is that minimized? There we go.
Minimize, yeah.
Minimized when it comes to exact match.
It's still there, but if
It's still
if you
there.
use some longer keyword phrases, 3, 4 words, And it doesn't take a lot of negative keywords once you start seeing those search terms rolling in to kind of block the stuff that you would show up on that you don't want to.
Yeah. Yep. It's
It's old
I
school.
I want to clarify. When I say exact match, that does not mean, and tell me if this is true for you. That does not mean I start my accounts with like 50 exact match keywords. I still start with maybe some broad, maybe some phrase, and maybe a few exact match. But I don't. It's not like I assume I know what my exact match keyword should be from the beginning. This is a optimization ongoing process where I add more exact match keywords based on my search terms. So
I think that's a
I want to clarify.
I think that's a good point. I've definitely gotten to the point with some industries where after I see a lot of the data from broad, from phrase, combined with the performance from exact, I go, you know what? We have a limited by budget situation. I'm just going to run all on exact match, and it ends up being that. But you don't really know what those queries you need to show up on that are going to convert at 15%, 25, 35%
Yeah.
from just regular non-brand searches. It can happen. That can happen with exact match keywords, and then you figure out what search queries you need to run as exact match when you get the search term data, search query data, search term data from a lot of phrase and broad as well early on, because there is a price to pay, Chris, with exact. It's kind of like a diagram or a chart, if you will. The more your campaign runs to exact match, the more volume of clicks that go to exact match, the higher your quality is going to be, but the lower your volume potential is. And is it pretty much there's no way around it, right?
Yeah. I think we could definitely like have some kind of graph. If we had a big expensive budget, we could have like some kind of, LED screen where we're pointing to some kind of graph where it comes, quality's going up, but volume's going down. There's some kind of inverse relationship there, but you're exactly right. And for some things, some aspects of your Google Ads campaign, that's exactly what you need. You need to specify exactly on quality and not go after volume.
So what's the mistake that people can make here? Is it running too much exact too quickly, or never even considering getting to a point where you prune your search terms to show more and more exact? Like, what are the mistakes you think people can make here with exact match keywords?
The biggest mistake, I think, is that's a good question. I think probably the most common thing I see is people that start with exact match and think that because we talk it up, there's a shortcut, they can say, well, if exact match is the best, I'm going to start with that. And they never explore outside of that. They think, I'm only going to spend this. They're, super tight on their targeting. I think that's more common than someone who's hurting themselves by not having any exact match. I think broad and phrase can still do a good job with no exact match, but I think that campaigns can be hurt more if you only limit yourself to exact match and never venture outside of it. I think that's a more detrimental position to be in.
Yeah, I think so, because you'll never know what you don't know.
Yep.
And you'll never see all those queries out there those search terms that I don't know why I'm calling them queries today, old school mindset with exact match. But you're right. If you run too much exact match early on or exclusively, you'll never find those other search terms that convert at an even higher rate. And you'll kind of not know what you're missing